Sri Lanka's most powerful news brand.
A very good evening and welcome to this Sunday's edition of News First Weekend, coming to you live from our Newsfirst studios in Colombo. I'm Arundhati Mundanayaka. Let's start off with a look at the stories making headlines this evening.
President Sirisena to request Vladimir Putin to lift temporary ban on imports of Ceylon tea. Who was the broker in the sale of national resources? Pilots Guild and unions call for removal of Sri Lankan Airlines management. Malaysian Prime Minister arrives in Sri Lanka on a 3-day state visit. Gum at the Gum in Gummata, Vevan Vavata gets underway.
Now the stories in detail. President Maithripala Sirisena says the people should make the upcoming local government elections the first shot in the battle to inculcate a good political culture in the country. The president made these remarks at a public rally held in Habutale.
We will be contesting the elections under both the betel leaf symbol of the United People's Freedom Alliance and the hand symbol of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party in specific areas considering the situation there. Today, in the historic district of Badulla, I extend to the people a sheaf of betel leaves. I ask them to consider that I have come to their homes and given them a sheaf of betel leaves and ask them to vote for the betel leaf. I call on the people of this country. There are some who say that the results of these elections will influence the formation of a government in 2020. I wish to respond to that. In the past, 80% of the chairmen of local government authorities were accused by the people of being rapists, murderers, drug peddlers, misusers and appropriators of public property. They have been caught in the net of the law. They have been found guilty by the judiciary and they have received severe punishment. A major obstacle to the progress of this country is the shortage of civilized and disciplined politicians. The first shot must be fired at this election to cover this shortage. You must elect good candidates as members and mayors who will govern these authorities well and will bring about a good political culture.
The National Convention of the JVP was held in Colombo today under the theme A Force to Rebuild the Village and Defeat Corruption. And speaking at the event, party leader Anukumar Dissanayaka had this to say.
What is the economic journey that Ranil Wickremesinghe's regime has embarked upon? Their economic journey is to sell off the resources of our country. The Hambantota port, which cost $1,370 million, has been given on a 99-year lease for $1,400 million. 99 years translates into 3 generations. In 99 years, we don't even know if shipping will be the main mode of transporting cargo. After it was handed over, I saw Ranil Wickremesinghe holding the cheque up high as if Kohli was holding up a medal after scoring a double century. These are the leaders of our country. The person behind Ranil Wickremesinghe's selling policy, the broker of the sale, is Malik Samaravikrama. The sale was signed off on by Mahinda Samarasinghe. We ask Ranil, Malik and Mahinda, within your lifetime, say in the next 32 years, how much revenue will you receive on income tax? At this election, the Ranil Wickremesinghes are asking for power to build the villages like they have built the country. What did they do with the country? Soon after taking over the country, they broke into and stole from the central bank, the authority responsible for the money supply of the entire country. If they take over the villages too, then they may even steal from the cooperative banks. Who are these patriots? Rohit Gunawardena was under investigation at the Bribery Commission on how he earned assets amounting to 40 million rupees. On the day he was summoned, he was bitten by a snake. What a snake it was! What happened at midnight? Rohit Gunawardena was summoned to the Bribery Commission, but he was bitten by a snake and was hospitalized. The Director General of the Bribery Commission who summoned him was transferred. So it was not the rogue that was punished, it was the officer investigating the rogue. Then there is our former friend. We are ashamed to say this. He was asked how he earned 74 million rupees. His lawyer made a statement saying that he raised 74 million rupees with his salary, which was 65,000 rupees. But we have Veeravansa's electricity bill, which notes that he spent 120,000 rupees in 1 month. Patriots, or are they fraudsters? Basil Rajapaksa, Gotabaya Rajapaksa. What sort of patriots are they? I say to their camp, don't even get wet in a light drizzle. All your patriotism will wash away. Please hold an umbrella over your heads.
කරුණාකරලා කුඩයක් කියලා කියන්න.
Following a Sri Lanka Freedom Party representatives meeting held in Habaradua today, Minister of Skills Development and Vocational Training Chandima Virakudi spoke to the media about how certain parties in the country engage in secret deals.
Who is Professor G.L. Piris? He is a UN peer. Who is the so-called first member of the party? Basil Rajapaksa? He is a UN peer. So we do not have to tell you who engages in these secret deals with the UNP. We openly speak to the UNP, the JVP and the joint opposition, but no one knows about the secret deals between the Flowerbud party and the UNP. The best example is you cannot see what's inside a flower bud. When you open it, you may find an elephant, a bell or maybe a beetle leaf.
Speaker Karuja Surya, who attended an event held in Newsfirst today, had this to say on the current political climate and development process within the country.
Last October, we celebrated 70 years of parliamentary democracy. It was a grand celebration and the speakers of parliaments of all the SAARC countries were invited to our country. We celebrated the occasion at a special sitting of parliament, but while this was a cause for happiness on one hand, on the other hand, it caused us to weep from our hearts when considering the current state of the country, which has had political democracy for 70 years, a country which is the oldest democracy in Asia. Before a country can move forward, that country must have discipline. There must be a vision. There must be love for the country. In 1948, we were at the foremost in Asia. The difference between our income and the income of Japan was $1. We were ahead of all the other countries. Our public servants went to Malaysia to assist in the establishment of their public institutions. A country that had progressed so much has now fallen to this state.
President Maithripala Sirisena says that he will forward a written request to President Vladimir Putin to lift a temporary ban on Sri Lankan tea exports to Russia due to come into effect tomorrow. The President made this statement at an event held in Haputale this afternoon.
We were informed of a temporary ban on tea purchases from the country owing to the discovery of an insect that is harmful to tea as well as other agricultural industries. We inquired into this incident. The stock of tea where the insects were found belonged to a private company. If they are found guilty following the investigation, their tea exports license will be revoked. Tonight, Ministers Navin Dissanayake and Rishad Badruddin will leave to Russia to explain the situation and change the decision taken by Russian authorities. I have drafted a letter to Russian President Vladimir Putin and will forward it tomorrow. I hope to make a request to reconsider the situation as an allied nation and the leading importer of Sri Lankan tea and to restore the tea imports to its former state. Minister of Plantation Industries Navin Dissanayake commented on the matter at an event held in Newsfirst. This is a surprising situation because the insect named Capra is found usually in stocks of grain. Thus our government as well as the tea board believes that the insect may have been in their packaging and not in our tea. We believe it may have been transferred during a stop at another port. Nevertheless, we will take all possible steps to remove this temporary ban and swiftly resolve the situation.
A time for a short commercial break. Stay with News First. We will be right back. The coal debate has been reignited with the announcement of plans to adopt so-called clean coal technology for 2 new coal power plants. But is there such a thing as clean coal? Chaturanga Haparachi joins us from the newsroom with more details. Chaturanga?
Thank you, Arundhati. Now, as you said, the cabinet paper that we have been discussing last week is coming to the forefront again this Tuesday, and it's going to be presented for cabinet approval. The cabinet approval for 2 600 megawatt coal power plants that is using the clean coal technology is what has been promised in the paper. Now, when it comes to the clean coal technology, there is a lobby group for coal in Japan called J-Coal. Now, they have put forward a system or the requisites, the requirements for a power plant to have clean coal technology. The power plant that we currently have in Norochole is called a subcritical power plant. Now, if you are to move into the clean coal technology, you need a power plant that consists of these technologies. That is, the ultra supercritical or the advanced ultra supercritical coal power plants are required if we are to go into the clean coal technology. And Arundhati, as you can imagine, these coal power plants are extremely expensive. And now, Arundhati, I'm going to continue this problem here when it comes to all of this. If we are to construct an advanced ultra supercritical coal power plant in the country, I'm going to tell you the facts and figures here obtained from the J Coal lobby group. The value stands at $2.5 billion US. If you are to go into a normal natural gas power plant, that would only cost the country 660 million USD, Arundhati.
Now, Chaturanga, tell me, how much will a natural gas plant cost to Sri Lanka?
Yes, in addition to the 660 million rupees, if you're going into this sort of a power plant, it will cost about 2.5 billion USD. But the natural gas power plant would only cost us 660 million USD. And when it comes to this clean coal, any coal power plant is not going to be 100% clean. This will have an environmental impact. This will have various other issues surrounding it. And it is expensive, and this is not cheap. And we remember how people around Norochole had a protest a few months back, and they took the dust from their gardens at their homes and showed it to the general public and said, this is what we are going through. That same problem is going to go on if we go into another coal power plant, even if it's the ultra supercritical. But the problem here is the generation plan has been put forward by the Ceylon Electricity Board. This generation plan does not mention an ultra supercritical power plant or an advanced ultra supercritical coal power plant. They only speak of a supercritical coal power plant, and that coal power plant will not be able to have this clean coal technology that they are speaking of, because this is coming from the providers of the Japan, is the people who tested and checked this out, the clean coal technology, and they are saying if we are to have clean coal, you need these two categories of a coal power plant, and a super critical power plant will not be able to get that going. And if you ask me, will there be a reduction in the CO2 emissions? Now the government as a plan has put forward and said we are going to construct an area, a buffer zone, and put up trees, cultivate trees in that area. But will that work out? This will not work out, because if we are to put up trees in the complete 600 acres that has been allocated for the coal power plant, the trees will only be able to bear up the CO2 emission for just 3 days. Experts opine that you will need 18,000 hectares a year to be cultivated if they are to absorb the complete emission of CO2 from these power plants that are to be constructed. So are these practical answers to the problems that we have at hand? And the decision makers, are they not aware of what's going on in the country? They are aware, and they are trying to turn a blind eye to whatever is happening. They know what is happening, and they decide not to, because obviously these methods, coal power plants, are advantageous to a lot of people who are not considering about the people of this country, who are not considering about the environmental impact these coal power plants have. And this will go on. People like LTL and other private electricity suppliers will benefit from this once we go into spot purchasing, when places like Norochole fail, as we have seen in the past. Now, when it comes to these matters, we knew that when the coal controversy took place, the Secretary to the Ministry of Power and Energy was highly criticized. Now, when you take a look at this, it seems like the minister is also aware, and the minister is not doing anything, because we can see that this cabinet paper has been put forward by the minister as well. And why is the minister not doing anything? We have seen a government policy saying, look, we are going to go into a green economy, and we are imposing carbon emission taxes on the people, and the government is deciding once again to put up coal power plants. What is this contradiction in policies when it comes to the coal sector? And who is driving the government, or who is pressurizing the government to actually go into coal power plants? Is it the secretary to the ministry? Is it the minister himself? Is it the trade unions, the engineers in the CB? Who is trying to do this is a big question. Now, when we go forward, we will see that this will come into the cabinet minister's approval on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday. Will it receive the approval? And if it does, to what extent are we going to put our people at risk in a guise of generating electricity for the country? And who is driving the government to that position is a question. We've seen a number of situations where decisions are taken to the benefit of the people. When the government officials are trying to absorb money to themselves through various commission methods and various other methods, if they draw their attention properly to the problems that we have in our country, then people like this, our farmers in the country, will not be burdened in this manner, or they'll not have to go through hardships in this manner. Let's have a look.
20,000 acres of paddy fields are cultivated with water from the Rajangani reservoir. The area includes 64 farmers' organizations. After 3 seasons of drought rendered their crops useless, the farmers began tilling the soil for the Maha season with many hopes and aspirations. However, when the time came to apply the first round of fertilizer, all 64 farmers' organizations received a single truckload of fertilizer. Farmers question whether the obvious fact that this amount is insufficient needs to be pointed out to the relevant authorities.
1 lorry of fertilizer is not enough for even one farmer organization.
Traders say that they too have been affected as a result of the fertilizer shortage. Farmers in the Ampara district, the largest rice-producing district in the country, have also been affected by the shortage. C.H. Kumar, the president of the Uhana Bedum Ala Farmers Organization, bears testament to the troubles faced by his community. Our father uses the money he earns from farming to pay for our education. We want to study well and advance, but because the farming livelihood has broken down, we are unable to meet our aspirations. Both our son and daughter are sitting for their advanced level examinations. If we cannot cultivate this season too, we will be ruined.
We don't have enough fertilizer. They are not providing us with the basic facilities we need to cultivate. It is very disheartening. I plead with them, the rulers of our country, not to force farmers to this state.
The farmers are facing hardships in this manner where the country, the ancient technology of the country, or the weather or tank in our country is the magnum opus, and the advanced irrigation system is testified through these various irrigation systems that we had in our country. Keeping this in mind, to provide solutions to the problems surrounding the communities that are living around a weather or a tank in our country, Newsfirst launched our latest project. Let's have a look.
The foundation for the Gum at the Gumin Gummata Vevin Vevata program was laid following a broad study carried out by the Agriculture Faculty of the Peradeniya University and experts in the field of irrigation technology. This national initiative got underway today on the shores of the Bellankadavela Reservoir in Palugasweva, Anuradhapura.
මේ රටේ පස පිළිබඳව ඒ වගේම ඍතු විපර්යාසයන් පිළිබඳව
Our forefathers lived in this country with a good understanding of the earth, the seasons, the flora and fauna. If the people in the villages receive enough water to irrigate their fields, then those in cinnamon gardens would be defeated. These people would reign and live as kings if only they had the water they need to irrigate their fields.
මේ ගොවි තැන්පත් ටික කරගන්න ගොවි වතුර ටික හරියට තිබුණොත්
මේ කටයුත්ත මා විශ්වාස කරනවා.
I believe that this venture will create a great change in the area and the areas where the Lanka or collection of tank system exist. Why do I say this? The landmass that comprises Lanka tank systems amount to 20% of the landmass of Sri Lanka. If we can bring this 20% to a certain standard, it will greatly benefit agriculture, the living standards of rural communities and administrative officials. Our chairman, Mr. R. Raja Mahendran, spoke to us on the water crisis that has engulfed the country. Water has become akin to an enemy. Either there is a drought or there are floods. In the absence of both of these, the water is plagued with the blight of kidney disease. He noted that there must be a reason for this and asked us to investigate. He asked us to start the Gum Madhur initiative in a similar vein. It was his concept. With his support, we commenced a broad study into the subject. We use various words to describe our reservoirs, but we are fearful at present to use the word veva. A veva is not simply a reservoir, it's a complete and diverse ecosystem. Take a minute to reminisce on this. From this month onwards, we will be importing 100,000 tons of rice to Sri Lanka. We are a nation who used to export rice because of the surplus we had. They speak of modern technology and we can see what they have achieved with all this talk over the past 6 to 7 decades. On one hand, we have been forced to import rice, and on the other hand, our people are ravaged by kidney disease. Technology is essential, but we must fuse new technology with the vital knowledge that has been passed down by our forefathers who sculpted their environment for their purpose, yet were in perfect harmony with Mother Nature. This is the objective of the Gammadda Vevin Vavata program. We also wish to ascribe a new word in the English dictionary to describe our weather. We call on the government too, which is more than happy to appoint ministers for assortments of menial tasks, to appoint a dedicated minister in charge of the tanks of the country.
ඔබතුමන්ලා ඇමතිවරුන් හැම එකටම පත් කරනවා. මේ වැව් පිළිබඳවත් ඇමතිවරයෙක් පත් කරන්න කමක් නැහැ.
This is a country which had rulers who placed more importance on water than on their kingdoms. Sri Lanka is the only country in the world which built a civilization around the weather. Why do we call it a weather? Because it helps us to grow things, or vavima as we say in Sinhala. What does this word mean? It does not relate only to the growing of paddy. It describes how all things grow from the weather and with the weather. Newsfirst channel head Surangasena Nayaka, Director General Manager Yasrat Kamalsiri and Project Leader Amarashri Bandara also spoke at this event. A sapling was planted to commemorate the event. Environmentalist Praveen Aberatna was also present at the occasion.
Have we forgotten? Perpetual Treasuries bribed informants who provided them with market-sensitive and price-sensitive information in millions. PTL chief dealer Nuan Salgado revealed PTL paid several informants since July 2014, including Treasury bond dealer of the EPF, codenamed Charlie, who had received 97 million rupees up to March 2015. Salgado had maintained a document which contained payments allocated by PTL to informants coded as Charlie, Tango and Car, channeled through its related group companies on the instructions of PTL CEO Kasun Palisena. Two other code-named individuals are Little Johnny and Wolverine. Little Johnny was used mainly to refer to the contact person at the Employees Trust Fund and on occasion to Kavin Karunamurthy of DFCC Bank. Wolverine was used to refer to the National Savings Bank point of contact, who at the time had been Navin Anuradha. The money was channeled through Perpetual Asset Management, W.M. Mendis and Company and Perpetual Capital. A senior dealer at PTL, Kaushita Ratnavira, said CEO Kasun Palisena at times would tell him to collect checks from the accountant at W.M. Mendis and Company Limited. After the checks are cashed, over 1 million on all occasions are brought back to PTL and handed over to Kasun Palisena. Kaushita said he does not know what happens to the money thereafter. Have we forgotten? The tenure of the Presidential Commission of Inquiry into the bond issue will end in 14 days. The people await the decision of the Bond Commission.
The 2015 and 2016 bond scams, the biggest theft in Sri Lankan history. Who should be held responsible for this grand theft? Who caused millions and millions in losses to the country's state banks? Who stole the EPF money, the wealth you earned with your own sweat and blood? Who bowed down to fraud and corruption and allowed this massive theft? The entire nation awaits the final report of the Presidential Commission of Inquiry on the issuance of Treasury bonds. The first to expose the bond scam, News First.
With that, we are going to draw your attention to what is going on at Sri Lankan Airlines. Now, the trade unions attached to Sri Lankan Airlines says that a restructuring process must take place, but they also say that this restructuring process has to happen through a new management, and they say that if the management that is currently holding office at the Sri Lankan Airlines is still there, they will not, this restructuring process will not yield its proper desired effects. Now, this, if you take a look at closely the story we just saw, The bond scam, we saw a situation where Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe brought in a friend of his from Singapore and placed him at the hallowed institution of the central bank and asked him to hold the helm of that institution. We see here at Sri Lankan Airlines a brother of a friend of the Prime Minister, Captain Suren Ratwatte, acting as the Chief Executive Officer of Sri Lankan Airlines, the brother of Charitha Ratwatte, who is a member of the CCEM, a friend of the Prime Minister, a batchmate of the Prime Minister, also heading operations at another state institution that is making losses and that is going from bad to worse each day. So these problems, if you take a look at what's happening, the principle is the same. A friend of the Prime Minister has been appointed. Let's have a look at this story.
A committee of public officials has already been appointed to overlook the restructuring of Sri Lankan Airlines. Its preliminary report is to be submitted on the 20th of December. Even if the current management stays on, the employees have no faith in them. We do not think they can be retained anymore because for the past 3 years they have been unable to give us any profitable solutions, and we have informed this in writing too. We believe that any restructuring undertaken with the current management will not have a bright future. We do not think the current management has any knowledge or experience. Furthermore, as employees, we hope and believe that if the restructuring is planned under a new management that knows about airlines, it will be far better. Meanwhile, the SLFP affiliated union at Sri Lankan Airlines has submitted a letter to President Maithripala Sirisena with 8 proposals aimed at making the airline profitable. Among the proposals submitted by the Sri Lankan Airlines Nidhas Sevaka Sangamaya are the minimizing of unprofitable routes and ensuring optimum productivity, implementing a practical plan for the next 5 years, and appointing a committee with practical knowledge in civil aviation.
Welcome back here with News First. Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak arrived in Sri Lanka today on a 3-day state visit.
The duty manager at the Bandaranaike International Airport in Katunayake noted that the Malaysian Prime Minister arrived this morning with a 20-member delegation. During his visit, Razak will meet with senior government officials, including the President and the Prime Minister. The police say that several roads in Colombo will be closed periodically tomorrow morning as a result of the Malaysian Prime Minister's visit. The visiting head of government will leave the country on the 19th of this month.
2 siblings receiving education in the Madanwalai Hindu College in Mandalay have received an international award for an invention which mechanically plucks fruit.
15-year-old Vijay Kumar Keshan Kumar and 12-year-old Vijay Kumar Vijit Kumar received a gold medal in Taiwan for this invention at the hands of the Taiwanese president. 300 competitors from 29 countries participated in the competition, specially held to recognize new inventions. The 2 siblings have also previously invented a battery-powered robot.
But that's a look at Primetime News for tonight. Thank you very much for joining us. Good night.